Alright guys, llamapen here, and today I'm going to talk about the 4 dekes that I wish EA would bring back to the NHL series. So we've gained a lot of cool new dekes over the last few years with the Toedrag, the one-handed finish, the one-handed sidestep, and others, but we've also lost a few dekes from old gen that have yet to return to new gen, as well as a few moves from new gen that were introduced and almost immediately taken away. So I'm going to cover the ones that I most wish EA would bring back to the NHL series and show you a couple clips of them being used in game. So first off, I'm going to start with the forehand backhand loose puck deke. These clips are some old recordings I have from NHL 14. I don't have that many, unfortunately, although I'm pretty sure this deke was in the game even earlier. So it's similar to the standard between the legs deke in terms of how it's used, the way the puck moves from the forehand pocket over to the backhand, but the puck doesn't go between your skater's legs. This is a deke I'd like to see brought back not only because it looks cool, but because you see it used in the real NHL fairly often. If you remember the classic Rick Nash goal that he scored against the Coyotes, he used this move twice in a row to score that sick 1-on-2 goal. Panarin actually had a great goal using this move earlier this year. It's a very common deke, and I'm honestly not sure why it hasn't been brought back yet. These next 2 dekes were introduced in NHL 16, were in NHL 17, and then mysteriously vanished when NHL 18 came out, and they still have not returned. So this first one is what I call the fake backhand Toedrag. So for 2 years I played NHL 16 and 17, and not once did I ever play against someone who used this move. Very few people knew about it, less people used it, and maybe that's why it's not in the game anymore. That's unfortunate too, because while this deke was useless for deking out defenders, it was actually a great breakaway move and was even helpful for dodging flying poke checks. The controls were kind of awkward, but very simple, and if EA brought this deke back, they could use the same controls without it affecting other deke controls. Maybe it's not a commonly seen deke in the NHL, but I just always imagine my opponent thinking, what the hell was that, every time I used it to score, and I just miss having it in my bag of tricks. The other deke that was taken away was what I call the fake forehand Toedrag. So this deke works like a forehand Toedrag, but instead of moving the puck from the forehand to the backhand, it moves the puck from the forehand to even further on the forehand side. So this is another move that you see used in the NHL all the time. I've seen Tarasenko do it a lot, as well as many others. It works much in the way that the forehand chip does currently, only the puck stays on your stick. Not only was it a really simple deke to perform, but it was actually pretty useful, and it looked pretty slick. Last but not least is, in my opinion, one of the absolute coolest dekes to ever exist in the NHL series, and that is the one-handed windmill. We've got something kind of similar now with the one-handed sidestep, but it's just not nearly as cool as what it used to be, and it is still a little different. So this is a clip from NHL 15, although this deke was in the game years before that. So this footage actually comes from a channel called jhoyt74, and Jay Hoyt was nice enough to let me use this footage from his channel since I didn't have any footage of this myself. So if you get a chance, check out his channel. He's still making NHL content, and he's got some really good NHL 20 stuff, so go check out his channel, and thanks to him for letting me use these clips. The one-handed windmill is not a super realistic deke. I can't remember any specific times off the top of my head where it was used in the NHL, but it just looks so cool. It works basically the same as a windmill deke, but with one hand. So another thing is the controls for this move were great. They weren't impossibly hard, but they weren't super simple either. So when you compare it to the way the one-handed finish works now, which is tapping 2 buttons and basically goes in every time, it's just so much more satisfying and cool the way it used to be. So I would honestly like to see this control scheme brought back for holding the puck out with one hand. A lot of people don't know this, but you could actually score with one hand on old gen. The controls were just much more complicated, and scoring was much more satisfying. So I have a friend that I still play with today who, back in NHL 14, could routinely score against human or AI goaltenders by deking backhand forehand and then going to the one-handed backhander. And it looked sick, and it was way more skill-based than it is now, but that's just kind of a side note. If they were ever to go back to that control scheme, I hope they would bring back the one-handed windmill, because it legitimately is one of the coolest looking moves that the game has ever seen. So anyway guys, there are other Dekes that were in old gen that still haven't been brought back. I'm aware of that. These are just my 4 favorite ones, and the ones that I would really like to see brought back to the NHL series that I think would make the game even more fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.